Hey there, Griff Hamlin here from Blues Guitar Unleashed. Welcome and thanks for joining me. In this video, I wanted to just real quick, this was something that came up and I thought I would share it. And it was kind of an interesting question, which was basically, what do I practice next, right? If I'm practicing, how do I know what to practice, or what should I practice next? And of course, when I'm sitting in a room with someone, it's not too hard for me to advise them, exactly on how they can move forward. But if you're practicing on your own, or you're trying to learn, from via distance, via videos or DVDs or whatever, that can be a real challenge. And so I got to thinking about, sort of what's the best way that you can know for sure where to put your effort for the next thing. And really the best way to do it is to sort of look at what I call musical problems, okay? And so you got to understand that I sort of break everything down into what I call hows or whats. And what I mean by hows are things like, how do you play an E chord? Or how do you play an A7? Or how do you play a D, right? Or how do you play a G? Or how do you play a bar chord? Or how do bar chords work, right? How do movable chord shapes work? How do caged chords work? Okay, pretty much anything that has how in the name. How do you play a pentatonic scale? Right? But then there's these whats, okay? And whats tend to be much more, I'll say, creative, and they tend to give us these opportunities for musical growth. And it could be something like, well, what scale should I use over a blues in E? Excellent question. If you don't know the answer, boom, there you go. Or maybe it's, I want to play Sweet Home Chicago, what would I play? Okay, great question. What chords would I play? Great question. What scale would I use to improvise over that song? Great question. And all of those questions will lead you down a path. And that will lead you to the next thing that you will learn. And usually in the process of going down that path, you'll stumble upon some other things. And so you might make some detours because you find you've got some other things to learn. Some other hows, right? You might say, okay, well, maybe your musical question is, how do I solo over Still Got the Blues, okay, which has a little bit more complicated set of chord changes. And so as you're going through, you discover that somebody might say, well, you could use a harmonic minor scale over it. It sounds really cool. You might say, well, I don't know a harmonic minor scale. How do I play a harmonic minor scale? So now you have a how, and you can go sleuth out the answer to that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it always leads you down a path. So if you can keep track of whether the thing, if the thing you're trying to do is a how do I play a major scale? How do I harmonize a chord? How do I, play the G blues scale? How do I play the major scale? How do I play the minor scale? All of those things that have the word how in it. It's usually a simple, straightforward answer. This is how you do it. Or it might be, here's the 12 ways you can do that. Okay, like the pentatonic scale, there's gobs of different ways you can play that. The major scale, there's gobs of different ways you can play that. So that's fine. You just need one of them usually. When you get to a what, like what am I going to play over this song? Or what am I going to play for this song, right? Or what am I going to do when the other guitar player at a jam session plays the same chord that I do? And I don't want us to both play the same chord. I want something different. What am I going to do? That's a musical problem that you can solve, okay? So I know that this can be a little bit weird, but I think if you can start to force yourself to think that way, it has served me very, very well for the last 30 years. I've always been able to use those what kind of questions to steer both myself and my student in the right direction. And it works every time, right? So I hope that helps you. I know this was a very short video, but I just kind of wanted to get that across and get you something to think about today. So I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe make you think. Of course, if you know somebody who would benefit from this video, please feel free to share with them or however you do that. And I will look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.